Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. We are a day late, but not without good reason. The Game Awards happened last night. That was Thursday night. We're going to talk all about the Game Awards coming up in just a moment. But first, the biggest news story of the week, and I know that seems maybe a little crazy, considering that, the Game Awards just happened, but it's not every week, every day, every year that we get a new trailer for a Grand Theft Auto game. The Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer leaked a day early. It's out now. If you are one of the few people who have not had a chance to see it, you can go watch that on just about any and every video platform of your choosing. Your boy GnittWitt has watched it. Actually, I've watched it a few times. I made my dad watch it. I sat my dad down and I said, "Listen here, old man, you're gonna watch this this trailer for this video game that's not coming out until 2025. Spoilers: the game's not out until 2025. Trailer out now for a game that will not be out until 2025. But I said, listen, old man, you're gonna watch this trailer. Tell me what you think." I also had my mom watch it. I don't know. I just thought it was funny to maybe have other people who could not care less about video games watch this trailer. But let's get into it here. So the GTA 6 trailer was supposed to come out on Tuesday. Instead, it came out on Monday. It leaked on, seems like it was leaked on Twitter. And listen, this trailer is like what, a minute and a half long. It's a minute and a half long. It's nothing super crazy, but it is, how would I put it? The trailer is a tone piece. It kind of sets the stage for what we can expect from this game. They mentioned it. I mean, listen, I'm not going to like break down the entire trailer for you because, I don't know. I think it's worth. I genuinely think it is worth. Like it is a spectacle. It is a moment. It is worth seeing. But I just want to point out that you point out a couple of things with this trailer. So, two playable protagonists from there's no gameplay. There's absolutely zero gameplay. This is all cutscene, in-engine footage, whatever. There's none of that stuff, but it looks like you're gonna be kind of a Bonnie and Clyde. A lot of so the game leaked, right? The game leaked like last year, and it kind of spilled the beans on a lot of what we can expect from the game. Going back to Vice City, been confirmed. Two playable characters, man and woman, Bonnie and Clyde-esque sort of setup here, and that's exactly what we have. That shows kind of. One of the main protagonists, Lucia, kind of in and out of jail from the looks of things, but never quite escaping the life of crime. She also seems to have a partner who, from the looks of things, is a male protagonist, of a romantic partner in crime sort of thing. But that's like a small bit of the trailer. The rest of it is really trying to set up the vibes and the wacky nature of Vice City, which is a fake Miami, fake Florida, right? Vice City, Grand Theft Auto Vice City on the PlayStation 2, very much a sort of 80s Coke-filled, your Scarface-esque sort of thing going on. This is more like modern Florida. This is Florida Man. And I saw some reactions to the trailer being like, man, I can't believe they're making fun of Florida. I can't believe they're like continuing to riff on, the culture and the political landscape and the societal, struggles here and there of modern day America. And maybe it's because I'm a Canadian, but I'm like, make fun of Florida all you want, dude. I still find making fun of Florida fun. And maybe that's like a rude, cruel, insensitive thing to say, but like, Florida seems like an entirely different planet compared to the rest of the United States, and that's comparing the United States to the rest of Florida to the rest of the United States on a good day, right? So it shows like the trailer shows like body cam footage of the police like doing some sort of raid. It shows a a guy getting an alligator out of his pool. It shows women twerking on the top of cars. It shows a bunch of cars doing burnouts in the middle of intersections and robbing liquor stores and all of that stuff. And again, kind of a Grand Theft Auto, if you haven't figured it out by now, is often trying to spoof and parody large parts of America, right? Usually those spoofs are set within the city that they're in, right? So it's not like they're making fun of Texas when the game takes place in a fake New York, like in Grand Theft Auto 4. But it showed like vertical scrolling videos, right? It showed like a fake TikTok thing, and it's like, yeah, this is kind of what I would expect from Grand Theft Auto 5, maybe because of how long the game has been in development for. This stuff maybe seems like a year-ish late. Right? A lot of people saying they're like, oh, making fun of Florida and Crazy Florida Man and all that stuff are maybe not as finger on the pulse as GTA could be, but my kind of rebuttal for that is, has GTA ever particularly been on the finger on the pulse of America and social commentary on the Western world? I mean, when we think about it, Grand Theft Auto, if we start at Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto 3 was kind of them doing the Italian mob in New York style storyline. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, like I mentioned, is that Scarface, Miami Vice, coke filled kind of sort of Cuban crime saga, or a Cuban crime influence saga. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. Like, and you might be thinking, Nitwit, you just seem to be rattling off a bunch of movies. Yeah, that's what Rockstar does, is they watch a bunch of movies and say, we're going to make a game that has a lot of influence taken from those movies, right? GTA 4 is where they really started to change things up. More of a tale of, yes, Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto in general, is the whole premise is, what if the American dream wasn't quite what you imagined? What if the American dream went wrong? But the interesting thing about Grand Theft Auto 4 is that immigrant tale that it tries to spin. And it isn't quite as directly connected to movies, at least from the obvious, kind of glances of that game. It isn't quite as related to movies, though it does still take place in Liberty City, that of course being fake New York City. In Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. What's the movie that it's I was gonna say Showtime, but it's not that at all. They've moved, I think, away a little bit more in recent years from recent games, I should say, from that direct connection to a lot of the movies that they've watched that have influenced the game. But I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with them doing Bonnie and Clyde, but when you see a female protagonist and a male protagonist that are criminals that are in love, at least from the trailer, Bonnie and Clyde, you get it, right? Maybe next time they'll do Thelma and Louise. But that is it. It has a Tom Petty song in it. It's a pretty good song. It features "Love Is a Long Road," which is a hell of a song. Listen, I'm not even the biggest Tom Petty fan, and I think "Love Is a Long Road" is a hell of a song. It, I think, really sets the tone, really sets the vibe for Grand Theft Auto 6. The problem is 2025, and it makes you wonder, why put this out now, right? You could have put it out in 2024. What do you think? Maybe it doesn't seem quite so bad. Well, when it's a year, I mean, I don't think it's coming out like January 2025. I think we are a year plus away, but a year plus away doesn't seem so bad if you put it out, if you'd waited like 4 weeks to put out this trailer. I mean, what are we doing? Right? Did they want to get ahead of the Game Awards? Did they want to finally address the leaks and all of that stuff? I really don't quite understand why now for the GTA 6 trailer, but for what it's worth, I found it effective. I got me excited. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, the game's first a playable character that is a woman. Good job, Grand Theft Auto 6. I can't believe they made Grand Theft Auto 6 woke. All those fucking idiots on the internet being like, man, it's so culturally sensitive. It's so, motherfucker, there's nothing woke about crime. I hate to be the one to tell you it. There is nothing woke about crime. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to cover the Game Awards. So stick around. Glitch Report ain't going nowhere. Welcome back to the podcast. The Game Awards happened last night. Jeff Keighley's final event of the year. We have, we as in me, I have a list of the winners. I also have a list of everything that was announced. Give me a moment here. I don't know if the list isn't that bad. So I did a predictions podcast. Let me pull up that list here. I did a predictions podcast a few weeks back where I was like, here's who I think is going to win and stuff like that. And this wasn't me saying who I want to win. This is who I predicted was going to win. And I actually forgot, silly me, I forgot to include the People's Voice, the player voted game of the year. So I totally forgot about that. So, forgive me, but I got about 11 of my predictions right, which I'm okay with that. I mean, it's a failing grade, but it's not school, so I'm okay with it. But let's go ahead and run down the list. We're going to skip esports. We're going to skip content creator of the year, the player's voice, which I would have totally got right if I had voted or predicted it. Player's voice game of the year went to Baldur's Gate 3. For most anticipated, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I got wrong. I had predicted Hades 2. Best adaptation went to Last of Us, predicted correctly. Best multiplayer went to Baldur's Gate 3. Best sports/racing game went to Forza Motorsport. And I gotta say, the Forza Motorsport one is surprising because if we're talking racing games, like I didn't even play that much of it, but F1 23 seems like a better racing game than Forza Motorsport. It almost felt like, we got to give something to Xbox. So we'll give best sports/racing game to Forza Motorsport. Best sim/strategy game, Pikmin 4. Best family game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Best fighting game went to Street Fighter 6. Best RPG, Baldur's Gate 3. Best action/adventure game was given to The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Best action game went to Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Best VR/AR game went to Resident Evil Village VR mode. Best mobile game, Honkai Star Rail. Best debut indie game went to Cocoon. Best independent game went to Sea of Stars. Best community support went to Baldur's Gate 3. Best ongoing game went to Cyberpunk 2077. The Games for Impact Award was given to Chia. Innovation in Accessibility was given to Forza Motorsport. Best performance went to Neil Newborn for Baldur's Gate 3. Best audio design went to Hi-Fi Rush. Best score and music went to Final Fantasy 16. Best art direction, Alan Wake 2. Best narrative, Alan Wake 2. Best game direction, Alan Wake 2. And the game of the year, to the surprise of no one, I'm not saying it's disappointing. I'm not saying anything like that. But the game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3. Congratulations to Larian. Though one of the predictions that I made, I'm gonna just state this up at the top. One of the predictions that I made was when Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year, they'd go up on stage and they would announce that the Xbox release date was out that night and available on Game Pass. And I was really, really wrong. In some ways, I was really, really wrong on that prediction. They did not bother to announce the Xbox date live during the Game Awards ceremony. It came out last night. It is out on Xbox. You can play it right now. But nobody on stage at the Game Awards said, oh, and by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 is out now on Xbox. It just like, I don't know, slipped everybody's mind to put that out there. I don't know what the fuck happened. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is out now on Xbox. It came out shortly after the Game Awards were over. However, it is not on Game Pass. The deal was not done between Microsoft and Larian Studios. So for those looking to get Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox, you got to pay up $80 Canadian for Baldur's Gate 3. Well, actually, maybe it's 90 because it's, I think, like $10 more expensive than the PC version. Anyways, that was the weird part. I was like, oh, okay, they won, and then no one fucking announced the Xbox version. Like, what the fuck's going on? That being said, I'm going to talk about the Game Awards just as a whole, and then we're going to talk about everything that was announced and the stuff that I, quite connected with and all of that stuff. But the Game Awards is probably, well, not probably, it is easily Jeff Keighley's worst show of the year. Every year that Jeff Keighley does a show, the Game Awards is the worst. And I'm not necessarily asking for the Game Awards to be the video game equivalent of the Oscars. One of the problems that I have with the Oscars and the Academy Awards, if we look at, and I'm comparing it to the Academy Awards because it is probably the closest thing that people think of when they think of the best award show that they could watch every year, right? The problem with the Oscars is that you, as the audience, don't necessarily feel like you're a part of that ceremony. You don't, it just feels like you're on the outside looking in, the Hollywood elite, the rich, the famous, the glamorous, the Photoshopped, the airbrushed, the CGI'd. Like, these people don't look real. They might be genuine, real artists who, if you sat down and had a beer with them, you'd be like, yeah, this, Christoph Waltz, Academy Award winner, Christoph Waltz, seems like a cool dude. I don't know, Steve Martin hosted a bunch of the Oscars, but like, I saw him play the banjo and he seems kind of cool. Like, there's just a disconnect between the Hollywood elite and you as the viewer. The other thing is that, the Game Awards, a lot of the games on the list, right? Game of the Year, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda. The Game Awards, and maybe this is the nature of the industry and not just the, the Game Awards itself, but the most popular games tend to be the most represented games at the award show, which is different than something like the Oscars, where it's like, well, I don't know, I guess I have to go check out this movie because this movie I've never heard of just won Best Picture or something like that, right? There is like, the Game Awards is very focused on inclusivity in terms of, making a Game Awards for the everyman, for, even the most casual of game players to sit down and watch the show. And I think that is, a noble effort, but I think it actually gets in the way of celebrating the games themselves. One of the big problems I had this year, the acceptance speeches were incredibly short. I'm talking super, super short. Christopher Judge, who won for God of War Ragnarok Best Performance last year. You remember last year, he had like a 7-minute long speech. It was super, super long. And I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't like the most exciting speech either, but whatever. Christopher Judge seems like a cool dude. Let him go out there and talk shop, spit game. Before I get too ahead of myself, Christopher Judge was the presenter for Best Performance this year. He came out on stage, made a comment about his super long acceptance speech from last year. And he said his 7-minute long acceptance speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign, which was, in my opinion, not only an incredibly savage and brutally funny joke, but also probably the best moment of the Game Awards. If you remove the announcements from it and just make it a show about awarding games of the year, I think a really funny, kind of takedown on the failings of this entire show, right? To some extent. That being said, you know, the acceptance speeches were very short, and there wasn't just a lot of celebration of the games in general. There were some musical numbers. The Alan Wake musical number was fucking awesome. That was super cool. They got the old guards of Asgard, which are the fake band in Alan Wake, to play at the Game Awards. They had the actor who plays Alan Wake out there kind of dancing along to the music. They had the voice actors from Alan Wake's from the game singing. They had Sam Lake, the director of Alan Wake 2, out there dancing with the on the stage. Super cool. The Game of the Year presentation was a medley of music from all of the games, which is super neat as well. They also did a Hellblade, musical number, which I did not care for, but that's just me. But in general, it just seems like so much of the focus is around the announcements, the reveals, the world premieres, and not much about it is, reflected on the actual winners of the best games of this year. No mention whatsoever on the brutal conditions that have faced the developers throughout this entire year of studio closures and layoffs, left, right, and center. Like, zero comment about any of that stuff, right? No comment on how, like, oh, it seems like the Embracer Group is just shutting down the entire industry left, right, and center. No comment. No comment on Bungie. No comment on any of this stuff, right? They didn't even fucking talk about the consolidation of large corporations with the merging of Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft. Like, they just did not reflect on some of the most crucial and important parts of the industry. And if you think for a moment that doesn't make it better, it doesn't make the show more interesting, you need a show that actually reflects on the industry from where it's at. It feels like the Game Awards takes place in this fantasy bubble where everything's all fucking hunky-dory in terms of the conditions of the industry. I understand that maybe it is an overcorrection of where the industry was at during the pandemic when everyone was sitting at home ordering Uber Eats and playing fucking Destiny 2, but that's not the world we live in anymore, and I feel like it should at least try to reflect that to some degree. I think the Game Awards is terrible. It's not what I want out of this industry. I'm totally cool. Listen, I really like Summer Game Fest. I like Jeff Keighley, not just because he's Canadian. And I liked Gamescom from this year. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the stuff that Jeff Keighley does. But when it tries to present it as a genuine celebration of this year in games, it completely misses the mark, in my humble opinion, right? Yes, people should know that Baldur's Gate 3 is the best game of this year. People should know that the game direction, the way, Remedy set out to make Alan Wake and their influences is highly evocative and well worth seeing. People should know that if you are a gamer who has accessibility needs, low vision, completely blind, guess what? One of the best games that you can play this year for blind or low vision is Forza Motorsport. Like, that stuff should be represented. Also, on top of that, you have a bunch of awards with zero, I repeat, zero acceptance speeches whatsoever, and a good number of these awards were actually done during the half an hour pre-show that started at 4:30. Like, but hey, we have don't worry, we have lots of time cut out for during this award show for fucking Samsung ads, for Lenovo ads, for fucking don't smoke cigarette ads. It's just so ass backwards. This is just so ass backwards. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will not watch next year. I will not. There's and like, oh whoa, look at this guy over here. He's not gonna watch. Like, fucking who cares, right? Like, I'm not like, this is not some hot take. This is not some like bold stance. I'm not dying on the sword here. I'm just telling you that, like, based on the last couple of years and based on what I actually get out of these awards, out of this show specifically, it's not the awards because they don't care about the awards. So really, I just now have to look at it and be like, oh, well, what's the cool stuff that they announce? Any cool reveals? Any cool, announcements? Any trailers? Like, that's the only thing that matters. So why would I bother sitting through like a 3? Gosh, I don't even know how long it was. It started at 4:30. It was probably done by around, I don't know, like 8-ish, 9-ish. I forget. I've lost. Honestly, it felt like I was in a fucking wormhole of mediocrity, the likes of which I would never get out of. But I survived and I'm here to tell you about it. And I don't think the Game Awards is very good. I don't. And for an industry that continues to try to take itself seriously, that continues to try to reach mainstream appeal and mainstream status, maybe this is what the industry needs to have, is this this clusterfuck of pats on the back mixed in with ads for DoorDash. Like, I don't know, like maybe that is what this industry needs, is like, hey, have you had a Taco Bell, burrito recently? Also, best performance goes to Baldur's Gate 3. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have the solutions. I'm simply complaining without any solutions, but I just wish the actual awards were taken a lot more seriously. The presenters had a lot more of an opportunity. I also wish that the Game Awards had a Lifetime Achievement Award that they consistently presented and not when it was convenient for them. You know what I mean? Like, games have been around for a long time. We should start giving people their flowers while they can still smell them. Seriously. Right? You can't just have the fucking Atari people make amazing documentaries and, be like, oh, well, that's good enough. That's the game history. Like, seriously. But at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen with my eyeballs, but it isn't very good. Well, speaking of the things that people actually care about when it comes to the Game Awards, I got this list here from IGN.com. This is everything announced at the Game Awards. Capcom announced Monster Hunter Wilds. This is the follow-up to Monster Hunter World. Also a 2025 game coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. A guy who spent way too long on stage, as far as I'm concerned, way too long on stage. This is actually, I have nothing against Hideo Kojima, but his presence makes the Game Awards feel closed off and exclusive the way something like the Oscars can present itself as. Hideo Kojima, when he is on stage, makes the Game Awards feel the most like a circle jerk. They also brought out Jordan Peele. I love Jordan Peele. Get Out, amazing movie. Nope, an amazing movie. Us, Us is all right. And of course, the legendary sketch comedy of Key and Peele. Just, I love Jordan Peele. Don't get me wrong. And it was like, oh, I'm so torn on this. So Hideo Kojima officially revealed his Xbox project called OD. It is supposed to be a horror game about, pushing people's limits when it comes to horror and fear and all this stuff, overdosing on fear, whatever. Some really incredible motion capture, some really incredible, face capturing presentation between, a variety of actors and actresses that they have scanned in for the show. But the cool thing was they brought out Jordan Peele, and Jordan Peele's like, look, man, I spent my life, playing video games. I spent, he was like, talking about how much he loved Metal Gear Solid 2. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2. So Jordan Peele's out there on stage and he's talking about how, like, Hideo Kojima, like, I spent my whole life playing video games and now I get to make movies, and you're a guy who spent his whole life watching movies, and now you're making video games, and this just seems like a really cool collaboration to have. And I'm like, this is more of the shit that we should have on the Game Awards. Like, maybe don't have fucking, you know, Hideo Kojima taking up so much time that people can't make acceptance speeches, but like, this is the cool shit that we should be seeing, right? They had Matthew McConaughey out there. He's going to be in a game. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but they had like some celebrity presenters and shit like that. They had Gonzo, you know, Gonzo from the Muppets. Sadly, no Al Pacino this year. We'll just move on and just do this in order. God of War Ragnarok is getting free DLC. It is out next week, December 12th. Is a free expansion to God of War Ragnarok called Valhalla. It is going to mix some rogue light elements in with the God of War combat, and it's supposed to also continue the story of God of War Ragnarok as well. This right here, this next game, probably the most exciting thing that I saw, hands down. And there's almost nothing to go off of. Like, there's so little. They didn't even announce the platforms this game is coming to. We can maybe make some assumptions, but Arcane Studios. Now, before I say anything, when I talk about Arcane Studios, I am not talking about the Arcane Studios that made Redfall. I'm talking about the Arcane Studios that made Deathloop and Dishonored, the good Arcane, for lack of a better word. So stop me if you've heard this one before. Arcane Studios are making a vampire game. No, I'm not talking about Redfall. The good folks at Arcane are making a Blade video game, a mature, single-player, third-person game set in the heart of Paris. They literally just started working on Blade. They said they had one of the studio heads or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, give us time, let us cook." But Blade looks awesome. It's a minute and a half long trailer, just kind of a very, vibe setting sort of thing. But I think Arcane making a Blade game sounds fantastic. I cannot wait. I am super excited. And it also makes me want to go back and play a bunch of Arcane games. Most likely Deathloop before Blade comes out. But anyways, the good folks at Arcane are making a Blade game. They didn't give a date, and they didn't even give a console, but we can probably assume Xbox and PC. Sega said, fuck it. Why have one trailer for one game when we can have one trailer for 5 games? Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, and more. No dates or other information, but Sega is out there cooking a whole lot of games, a whole lot of classic games that are going to be remade, reimagined, coming out in the future. This is a game that had a surprise, we talk about, hey, there was no surprise and now you can play it sort of thing. But there was, it just wasn't Baldur's Gate on Game Pass. The Finals, Embark's competitive shooter, dropped during the Game Awards and is out now to play on PC. Free to play. Embark is a studio created by former Battlefield developers, and this game is all about competitive shooting. It's a multiplayer first-person shooter with a huge emphasis on destructibility. I have downloaded the Finals. I have not played the Finals yet, but I will be doing that today, most likely. The good folks at Hello Games are making a new game, and it is not No Man's Sky 2. No Man's Sky, if you remember, is a game about simulating the entire universe with multiple planets for you to explore. Really, No Man's Sky is has turned into this fucking crazy and incredible thing. And it's scary that I could put 1,000 hours into No Man's Sky and maybe not even see everything that it has to offer. But I feel like Hello Games have maybe answered my prayers to an extent, right? If No Man's Sky just seems too big and ambitious, right? I don't know if I want to go to all these planets. I don't know if I want to scan every dinosaur and every plant and every whatever. Can I just have one planet? That's exactly what they're doing. Light, No Fire, the new game from Hello Games, is an ambitious open world online multiplayer game. that is set to feature building, dragon riding, and cooperative elements. But the idea is that instead of multiple planets, this is one very dense, rich, detailed planet for you to play in an open world setting online with your friends if you want. Final Fantasy 16 is getting some DLC, 2 waves of DLC, Echoes of the Fallen and the Rising Tide. Echoes of Fallen is out now with new story chapters that take place just before the final boss battle, and the Rising Tide is coming spring of 2024. New PlayStation 5 exclusive Rise of the Ronin gets a March 2024 release date. That is Team Ninja's upcoming open world samurai game. Skull and Bones is coming out February 16th. Let's move on from that. Lost Records Bloom and Rage is the next game from the Life is Strange creator Don't Nod. They also made Jasant, Twin Mirror, and Tell Me Why. It is coming out on PC, Xbox, and PS5 with the story focuses on friends who reunite after 2 decades. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, previously teased as a Budokai Tenkaichi game. Fortnite Rocket Racing is out today. Ori developer Moon Studios reveals No Rest for the Wicked. No Rest for the Wicked is a Diablo-esque action RPG. It will be coming to PC via early access at the start of 2024, with a full release coming later on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. BioWare veterans are making a new sci-fi RPG called Exodus. The trailer revealed that players will take the role of the Traveler, exploring the universe while avoiding enemies known as Celestials. The good folks that made Untitled Goose Game are making a multiplayer walking game called Big Walk. It's a really weird looking trailer. These weird, like, bird looking people, spherical bird looking people, coming out sometime 2025. Akumi Nakamura, who was very excited and very cheerful, very wonderful to see on stage, showed off her new game from her new studio, Unseen. It is kind of a brightly colored action game. Ikumi Nakamura, formerly from Tango Gameworks. Kamuri is her new game, kind of a action parkour game. Behavior Interactive and Supermassive Games, the people that made, Until Dawn and The Quarry and the Dark Pictures, have teamed up with Behavior Interactive. Behavior Interactive, if you don't remember, are the Dead by Daylight people, and a Dead by Daylight story-based spin-off is coming out between the two developers. The Casting of Frank Stone. Kind of a weird name, but if you watch the trailer, you're like, yo, dog, this looks like some, Until Dawn, The Quarry type stuff for sure. This game didn't look very good. But whatever. Maybe it'll be amazing. I have some doubts. Jurassic Park Survival, coming from Saber Interactive. It is a survival game set in the Jurassic Park world. It's first person. Visions of Mana is the new game from the Mana series. It is going to be coming out on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and PC next year. Hellblade Senua's, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is the name of that game. Or is it Hellblade 2? It doesn't matter. There was a lengthy kind of trailer for that game, as well as a musical number. Technically, that game looks gorgeous. Technically, that game looks very, very impressive. It also does nothing for me emotionally. Like, nothing. Like, I was not a Hellblade 1 guy. I'm not a Hellblade 2 guy. And I don't know what to tell you. But maybe it'll be amazing. And then I'll play it if it's amazing. I don't know. We'll see. Joseph Fares is remaking Brothers. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake is coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC February 28th, 2024. Former Payday developers 10 Chambers are making a new extraction techno thriller cooperative heist game called Den of Wolves. Black Myth Wukong has a release date that is going to be August 20th, 2024. Tales of Kenzera Zhao is coming April 23rd, 2024. That is a new 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania game brought to you by the voice of Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. That's coming out April 23rd, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Kind of a really emotional game, kind of a love letter to CEO Abu Bakar Salim father. He lost his father, and he's kind of, this is a game about kind of going through the grieving process for that stuff. I hate to butcher that man's name. I apologize. It's the voice actor for Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. Cozy MMO Palia is coming to Nintendo Switch next week with a launch date of December 14th. Outlast Trials, the multiplayer survival Outlast game, is coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One March 5th. The sequel to The Case of the Golden Idol, called Rise of the Golden Idol, is been announced, coming to Steam, PS5, PS4, Xbox, and Switch. As Dusk Falls, the choice-based adventure game As Dusk Falls, is coming to PS4 and PS5 on March 7th. The PS5 version has haptic feedback, touchpad controls, and audio description accessibility on both PS4 and PS5. If you don't remember, that game has been on Xbox for about a year. The Last Sentinel is a narrative-focused open-world game from Lightspeed Studios and Lightspeed LA. It is a game set in a futuristic Tokyo. Zenless Zone Zero is the next Hoyoverse game, and it has a 2024 release window on PC and Mac. Space Marine 2, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 finally has a new release date of September 9th, 2024. That game looks pretty darn cool. For all my mecha fans out there, Mecha Break, the new mech action multiplayer game developed by CSUN Games, was also shown off. The First Descendant is a new third-person looter shooter game with a summer 2024 release window. Exoborn is an open-world extraction shooter set in a post-apocalyptic U.S. Beset by extreme weather, made by Shark Mob. It is in development for PC and consoles and has both PvP and PvE elements. Guilty Gear Strive adds a new character to the game. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden got a new trailer. The Fire Berserker Kazan reveal trailer happened. That is a flashy action game coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Supernatural action-adventure game Usual June was shown off, and that is supposed to be coming sometime in 2025. How many more of these do I have? Oh my god, we're almost there. Daniel Mullins, you might remember Daniel Mullins as the creator of the hit horror card game Inscription. Daniel Mullins is back with Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, a very trippy, creepy, atmospheric horror game. You should watch. If you're like, what the fuck is Pony Island 2? You should watch the trailer for Pony Island 2. The Odd Gentlemen are back at it, making Harmonium the Musical. Harmonium the Musical looks really, really cool. The game follows Melody Mercado, an energetic 10-year-old Filipina American musician who became deaf at a young age. The Odd Gentlemen kind of stated that they're very focused on making this musical game accessible to the deaf community, and it seems super cute, seems super cool. Speaking of super cute, but maybe super bloody, Dead Cell Studio Moon Twin reveals Wind Blown. It is a cooperative, fast-paced action game with lightning fast combat in a roguelike style. Not much else to state. It has just started development. Seems really cool. Seems cute. Seems violent. Seems neat. Drool or Droll, DROL, showed off Thrasher, which is a trippy music thumping shooter. It is the follow-up to Thumper. Thrasher is coming to PC sometime next year. And 15 years later, World of Goo 2 is finally arriving. That is a sequel coming from 2D Boy and Tomorrow Corporation, the same studio that put out the first game. This is the sequel to World of Goo that came out in 2008. It's a long time coming. Arknight's Enfield is coming to PlayStation 5. The Matchless Kung Fu had a reveal trailer. They showed off more of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and it was 2 minutes long. I'll say this. Based exclusively on the 2 minutes of footage shown for Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I don't think that game looks very good. That's all I'll say. Is based on what they showed at the Game Awards. I have a feeling that the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game will end up being a very bad game. Void Interactive's first-person shooter Ready or Not is leaving early access on December 13th. That is pretty soon. They also showed off a new trailer for Honkai Star Rail. GTFO's final update. Asgard Wrath 2 is coming to MetaQuest. StarCraft like Stormgate gets a new gameplay trailer. And that is it. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk the rest of the news, non-Game Award news. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be your host, GnittWitt, and we continue to talk about the news because there's still a decent amount of news to get through, right? We already talked about GTA 6 trailer. Already talked about, the Game Awards, the winners, the losers. I feel like I'm the biggest loser considering I watched the Game Awards, plus all the reveals, stuff like that. Again, I think Blade looks or has the potential to be fantastic. We have some other news to get through. Let's try to jam through it right now so this isn't the longest podcast ever recorded. Alone in the Dark. The reboot. You might have played the demo. You might know what I'm talking about. And you might know that that game was originally supposed to come out in October and was then delayed to January. Well, worry no more because the game has been delayed yet again. Was originally supposed to come out in January, is now coming out March 20th, 2024. The reason for that is kind of twofold. One, the team wants to make that game the best it can be, but also THQ Nordic notes in its statement that they want to avoid crunch. THQ Nordic wrote, the Nordic, the publisher of Alone in the Dark, said, "The year is coming to an end and the Christmas holidays are upon us. However, until today, it didn't seem that way for Pisces Interactive, the team developing our upcoming survival horror game, Alone in the Dark. With our initially planned release date in January 2024, the Christmas season would have been filled with stress and anything but a jolly time for them. Therefore, THQ Nordic and Pisces Interactive have decided to give Alone in the Dark a new release date, March 20th, 2024. The well-being of the teams is a top priority, and both companies want to avoid any potential crunch over the Christmas holidays. Furthermore, THQ Nordic and Pisces Interactive want to ensure that the game not only meets, but exceeds the expectations of the community, especially with the outstanding performances of Hollywood stars David and Jodie as the main protagonists. We understand that many people are eagerly awaiting the release, but your patience will be rewarded." Of course, we're talking about David Harbour and Jodie Comer as the series protagonists, Edward and Emily, as they explore the mysterious mansion in Alone in the Dark. There's also a free playable prologue for the game called Grace in the Dark that you can play now if you would like, but the game has been delayed yet again. Seems like for, well-meaning, well-intentioned, I don't know, like, I wonder how, like, when I played that demo, I wasn't particularly impressed. I was not sold on the game. But obviously it is like a very small and almost out of context chunk for what the game is supposed to be. So we'll see how that turns out in March. The more I see how this turns out, the less and less I have hope for everybody involved. And I hate to be a negative Nancy, negative Nelly, a negative Ned Flanders, but Oakley Dokley does this look bad. Bungie's position as an independent company within Sony is reportedly under threat. This is from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles. When the PlayStation maker announced its intentions to acquire the Destiny studio last year, it said Bungie would continue to operate independently, maintaining the ability to self-publish and reach players wherever they chose to play. Post-acquisition, Bungie would be an independent subsidiary run by its board of directors, chaired by Pete Parsons and Bungie's current management team. However, according to a new IGN report, the company's board is currently made up of PlayStation Studio head, the Sony senior VP, Bungie co-founder, Bungie CTO, and the CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, who serve as a tiebreaker vote. But the current split board structure is reportedly contingent on Bungie hitting certain financial goals. If it fails to do so, Sony can choose to dissolve the existing board and assume full control of the company, it's claimed. Now remember, in October, Bungie staff were reportedly warned that revenue was running around 45% below projections for the year, which Parsons is said to have attributed to poor player retention for Destiny 2. Struggling to meet its targets and with threat of a potential Sony takeover looming, Bungie's leadership reportedly embarked on a wide-ranging cost-cutting plan that has seen 100 of the studio's 1,200 employees laid off. But it's not just the layoffs. Other recently introduced money-saving measures include a hiring freeze, reduced travel budgets, no holiday bonuses, and the pausing of cost of living pay adjustments and other benefit cuts that have reportedly contributed to a significant decline in employee morale. There are also fears that more job cuts could be on the way too. Quote, we know we need Final Shape to do well, one source told IGN, and the feeling at the studio is that if it doesn't, we're definitely looking at more layoffs. Now, Bungie confirmed that Destiny 2's next expansion, The Final Shape, has been delayed from next February to June of 2024. It has also been reported that Marathon has been internally delayed to 2025. I don't mean to fold my arms here in the video version of this podcast, but it doesn't look good, right? Because now Bungie has let go 100 people, and the people that they are keeping around live and work under worse conditions. As we know, inflation is out of control. It might be slowly showing signs of slowing down, especially in parts of America. But the fact is that cost of living is out of control. People who are getting wage increases and raises. Some of those raises are not in line with what the inflation rate was at when they got their raise, which means they're actually taking a pay cut, assuming they don't leave their job. Now, no holiday bonuses. I mean, what, you expect corporations to give you holiday bonuses in this capitalistic nightmare of a world we live in? Fuck no. Hiring freeze. A lot of companies are doing that, at least in an attempt to prevent letting people go. Reduce travel budgets. Why do you need to go anywhere? You're going to stay chained shackled to your desk until you make us $1 billion, of which you will see zero of that money when the final shape eventually comes out. Like, to me, this just seems like, of course, employee morale is low. Why the fuck would people be happy about the conditions? They fired their friends. They're not giving them pay increases that adjust to reflect the cost of living. The benefits have been completely screwed. Like, this makes sense. And I know a lot of companies are going to tell you right now, you might even work for a company that's saying that to you right now, that, oh, you should be lucky to have a job. The conditions out there are really tough in tech, in entertainment, in whatever industry you work in. You're lucky to have a job. You don't want to be out there, packing up boxes for Amazon until your back gives out and they, replace you with a robot. But that's the world we live in, folks. And I don't know how else to say it. So to me, I don't think you can get a good game out of employee. I don't think you can get good productive work out of employees that have low morale. Why? Why would they care at this point? Right? They're going to probably get fired anyways. 6 months from now, they might as well spend that time looking for other jobs in the game industry. Oh, wait, you can't look for jobs in the industry because every other company is letting people go, doing hiring freezes and all of that shit as well. Didn't hear anything about that during the Game Awards, huh, Jeff Keighley? Fucking ridiculous. So I have even less hope that the final shape is going to be a good game, let alone the expansion that Destiny and Bungie need it to be. I don't have hope because I don't think you can get good productive work out of employees that are suffering from low morale. But let's turn that frown upside down because there are some companies out there that are just killing it. They are just killing it. Maybe the economy is better in Japan. I have no idea. I'm not a Japanese economist at all. I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm just a man with a podcast. There is a company out there that is just killing it, as you know. They got Dragon's Dogma out in a few months. They announced Monster Hunter Wilds, but they got more stuff cooking. Capcom has confirmed that more Resident Evil remakes are planned. If you remember, Resident Evil 2 remake was released in January of 2019. They also put out Resident Evil 3 remake in April of 2020, and this March they put out Resident Evil 4 remake. Now here's the thing. I think those remakes are very good. I think Resident Evil 2 remake, hell of a game. Resident Evil 4 remake, hell of a game. Resident Evil 3 remake, it's okay. It's good. It's all right. Yeah, it's good. It's a good game. I will say Resident Evil 3 remake, thumbs up. It's a good game. It's not 2 thumbs up. I'm not fucking Siskel and Ebert over here. I guess they would have had 4 thumbs up. I don't quite know how Siskel and Ebert worked. That was before my time. Point is, Resident Evil 2 remake, hell of a game. Resident Evil 4 remake, hell of a game. Resident Evil 3 remake is good. But I think that Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 Village are where I would like to see the series continue to progress. That's the direction I would like to see this series, kind of move forward in. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing stopping Capcom from having its cake and eating it too in terms of remaking old Resident Evil games and also continuing to push the series forward in that sort of first person, kind of genre, sub genre bending, sequels to Resident Evil 7 and 8. Now, you might be wondering, where's the Resident Evil 1 remake? They already remade Resident Evil 1. They did it on the GameCube, and then they remastered that game for PS4 and Xbox One and stuff like that. So if you actually go download right now the Resident Evil 1 remake, it is still that game, but with better redesigned graphics. It is not the third person over the shoulder shooter experience that 2, 3, and 4 are. So my thought is, if you're going to remake Resident Evil games, you should probably remake 1 to be in line with Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. And while you're at it, you should probably also remake Resident Evil 0. Resident Evil 0 is the game that shares a lot of the same technology and structure and design philosophies as that Resident Evil 1 remake. Both of those games originally appearing on the GameCube before being remastered to other consoles. So, there's at least 2 Resident Evil games that they could remake, with easily. I'm not saying making games is easy, but if you needed ideas for Resident Evil games to remake, you could remake Resident Evil 0 and make it again more of a modern, experience like Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 is. And same thing with Resident Evil 1. And the other game that people seem very eager to have remade is Resident Evil Code Veronica. A game I'm not very familiar with. The only other Resident Evil game I'm at all familiar with is 1, and 1 is a very, very, very hard game to go back to, and that remake is not enough to get me to play it. So yeah, there's 3 games right there that they could remake, no problem. They could keep going forward with remaking Resident Evil 5, but the problem is that Resident Evil 5 originally came out in 2009, and the closer you get to modern day Resident Evil games being remade, the less you can do with them, because they're somewhat standard modern games, even by 2023 standards. It's one of the problems that I had with the Dead Space remake of this year is Dead Space Remake is a PS3 and 360 game, and I hate to break it to you, but some things haven't changed that much since the PS3 and 360 era. And while I think graphically and sound and just overall, the Dead Space Remake is very effective, it's very evocative, it's very good, it is still that game with a lot of paint kind of thrown at it. Whereas something like Resident Evil 4 is a much, much older game, and I think better justified its existence in being a remake this year. I think Resident Evil 5 could run into a similar problem as Dead Space, with it being a much more modern game that could potentially get remade. But you know what? I would play a Resident Evil 5 remake, so what am I even saying? I would be there playing it, no problems. I just think that maybe before Capcom gets too ahead of itself, it should actually go back and look at the last couple of Resident Evil, old Resident Evil games that they have not remade yet, and do those being, of course, 0, 1, and Code Veronica. But to me, the most interesting thing about Resident Evil right now is where that series is at after Resident Evil 8 came out, 8 Village came out. I find that Resident Evil 7 is probably still the best Resident Evil game ever made, going for that Louisiana dirty swamp people vibe, that southern horror. It's gross, it's grimy, and it is fucking fantastic. And I like the idea of, taking Resident Evil, putting it in first person. I think first person is more scary than third person, just because of how up close and personal you get with a lot of the horror, the jump scares, the gross stuff in those games. But I also think taking Resident Evil, the game, and being like, okay, you need keys to unlock doors, you need herbs, and rub the herbs on your whatever, and you got a shotgun, you only have 8 bullets, and all that stuff, it works. In first person, it works. But taking that style and that flavor, and changing that, and then reapplying it to the traditional Resident Evil formula, reimagined first person, is what makes Resident Evil 7 so damn good. So awesome. And I think going for that Eastern European gothic vampires and werewolves horror in Resident Evil 8 Village worked out almost as well as the southern swamp horror in Resident Evil 7. But to me, that's what I want to see. I want to see Resident Evil continue to push the subgenre inspiration forward. I don't know, maybe we get to some point where there's Resident Evil in sci-fi space, right? Can they do an Alien or Aliens or whatever style game in first person, whatever, I think they should stick to first person. It's worked out really well for them so far. But can they get to, something like that in Resident Evil? The catch, of course, is, and I'm not spoiling anything, but like, even though Resident Evil really changes up the formula, enough to keep things exciting with that Southern horror, with that Gothic horror, at the end of the day, by the time the credits roll, you're like, man, this sure is a Resident Evil game. They sure have found a way to tie all of this weird, unrelated bullshit back to what I've come to know and expect from the lore and story of Resident Evil. So it's not like they've changed too much up in the grand scheme of things, but just enough to keep things excited. But like, I would really like to see, that's what I want to see out of Resident Evil is, can they keep that formula, that action, that gameplay, that style, and that lore for whatever it's worth. I don't really care about the lore of Resident Evil, like the G virus, the T virus, the zombies, the Raccoon City, the stars, the whatever. Like, that's not necessarily, like, the individual stories within the games are fun, but how it connects to the larger universe, like, whatever. To me, Leon Kennedy is always going to be a rookie cop, whether he's saving the president's daughter or trying to get out of a bathroom stall in Raccoon City's police department. Like, to me, Leon is a rookie cop through and through, and I don't necessarily need to like go deeper into all of that stuff. Like, to me, the individual stories are what are the most interesting. But I want to see Resident Evil 9. Like, I that's what I want to see. I want to see Resident Evil 9, and I want to see them take another bold swing in a sub-genre direction and get weird. Get into sci-fi. I know that Resident Evil already has a lot of sci-fi in terms of like, your G virus, your T virus, your mad science experiment, your Wesker, whatever. But like, can we make a space horror game set in the Resident Evil universe? Or can we do, can we potentially get into a scenario where it's ghosts, right? Can we get into, some sort of like Conjuring, like, spirits-esque, can we get into like demons and the devil and like, kind of religious horror? I know they already kind of did, that Gothic horror with vampires and werewolves, but like, let's do weird shit with Resident Evil, right? Like, the remakes are going to sell no matter what. And honestly, I think people liked 7 and 8 enough that those will sell either way. Let's get weird. That being said, if they remake Code Veronica 1, 0, or 5, I will be there as well. And I'm just telling you right now that I'm very excited about the future of Resident Evil, however they end up spinning it. But I think there's a lot of potential to continue on this, the style and vibe of 7 and 8. The problem with buying digital purchases is that you do not physically own what you bought. You own a license to play that content. And unfortunately, the reality is that because it's a digital license, the license holders, the licensees, for lack of a better word, and the store that you bought it from can take away those purchases and leave you with nothing. And that is exactly what's going on right now with a lot of Discovery TV shows that were purchased through PlayStation. As of the 31st of December, this is a legal update notice on PlayStation.com. As of the 31st of December, due to our content licensing arrangement with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. We sincerely thank you for your continued support. Thank you, PlayStation Store. You can purchase movies and music and TV and all that stuff from PlayStation. At least you could in the past. I don't know if they still even let you do it or if it's all just like streaming services, but your friends and mine at Warner Brothers have been pretty ruthless in removing content from just about every platform that content was previously on. Now, here's the thing. Warner Brothers merged with Discovery. They've been trying to do tax breaks and tax write-offs and all of this real shady shit. And a lot of it has been involved with fucking with their content. If you remember, they made that Batwoman movie. Batgirl, Batwoman, I forget. The movie's done. The movie has been made, but they canceled the movie after it was finished because it would have made them more money in a tax write-off to cancel the movie than actually put it out. They tried to do the same thing with was it Acme versus Coyote, the Roadrunner, and Wile E. Coyote movie. They also did that with that Christmas, it was a Christmas or Halloween Scooby-Doo movie. Warner Brothers and Discovery just cutting shit left, right, and center. And in this legal update notice that Sony has provided, they have actually listed every single TV show that you will no longer be able to watch, even if you legally bought it on the PlayStation Store. And I mean, this is the world we live in, right? Where, you know, a lot of people, myself included, are more interested in buying digital content because they see the value in, you know, the ease of use, right? The accessibility of like, well, I don't have to put a disc in. I can just watch it on my phone, on my iPad, on my TV, on my microwave, on my laptop, on my fucking, you know, Tesla car, whatever, right? The problem is that like you don't actually own it. You don't actually own anything. And because you don't actually own anything, that means that they can just take it away from you. I'm not going to go through every show on this list. I would recommend you listen to the latest episode of the Jeff Gerstmann Show. Shout out to Jeff Gerstmann if you want to hear a man slowly lose his mind as he reads over every show that has been removed from the service starting on the 31st. I'll name a couple, and maybe you can kind of get an idea. I'm going to name a couple of TV shows that are being removed from this service, and you tell me if you would have bought these shows. Okay, here we go. Best Funeral Ever, season 1, being removed from the service. Let's see here. Cuff Me If You Can, season 1, being removed. Deadliest Catch, season 99. Deadliest Catch, Dungeon Cove. Deadly Women, season 11, to name a few. Did He Do It, season 1. Dr. Pimple Popper, being removed. Dude, You're Screwed. Sex Sent Me to the ER. And if you haven't seen Sex Sent Me to the ER, I have it on good authority that another Warner Brothers Discovery star, I'm talking about former AEW TNT champion Darby Allin, was on an episode of Sex Sent Me to the ER. I believe his sexual encounter involved bees, but I have not watched the episode. And I guess I'm not going to be able to watch the episode on my PlayStation anymore. Of course, My 600-Pound Life, My 5 Wives, My Dirty Little Secret, My Crazy Obsession, My Big Fat Pet Makeover, My Strange Addiction, My Teen Is Pregnant, and So Am I. All of those being removed from the PlayStation Store and your library, even if you owned those shows. And it just goes to show you that, like, something's got to give with digital ownership. Like, these stores need to either be upfront of like, hey, you can own this, but you're only owning it for a limited time because we don't actually own the rights to sell the show to you in perpetuity, but something's got to give, right? Like, say what you will about the fact that a lot of these shows seem like some of the worst fucking reality shows, one could possibly watch, but, Pit Bulls and Parolees, Police Women of Broward County, Police Women of Cincinnati, Police Women of Dallas, like Pregnant Behind Bars. Like, again, these shows are bad. These shows are some of the worst reality shows you could possibly watch, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, they are legally allowed to take them from you because you don't legally own the ability to rewatch it in perpetuity. And I think it's unacceptable. I think it's easy to joke and laugh, but the fact is this is garbage. This should be unacceptable. There should be a class. I'm no lawyer, but I think there should be a class action lawsuit involved in this, because what's the point of buying anything digitally going forward if you don't actually own it? I don't know what else to say. I think you probably are going to come to your own conclusions on whether this is okay or not. But the fact is that I think people legally bought. Someone has to own the season 1 of Sex Sent Me to the ER on their PlayStation, and I believe they should be able to watch it for as long as they want. Or PlayStation should give them the option to download a digital copy to put on a computer, on a thumb drive, on a hard drive, on something, so that they can continue to preserve that which they legally bought. Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I said Dread. I almost said Dredge Wolf. Dredge is a different game. Dragon Age Dreadwolf will finally get a proper reveal next summer. Did a drum roll, but it's next summer. Now you might be thinking, GnittWitt, what the hell? Wasn't this game originally announced at the 2018 Game Awards? To which I would say, you're absolutely right. The game was announced at the 2018 Game Awards, but has been so long in development that it will get a proper full reveal next summer. Summer 2024. They have put out teaser trailers for the game since 2018. They did just put out the Dragon Age Dreadwolf 2023 trailer. It's about like 40 something seconds long. It's short. It's very flavor of like, oh, and the lands and the politics and the whatever and the lime and the coconut. And if that's your thing, cool. But I'm going to consider that game once it seems like it is an actual real video game, and no more teaser trailers are going to convince me otherwise. Show me the game. Show me the money. Please. All right. And real quick, if no, it doesn't matter. The game's already out. It doesn't matter. Okay. Let's talk about the games that I have been playing. I finished El Paso Elsewhere. I think it really sticks the landing in terms of that final confrontation between James Savage, your main protagonist, and Draculae, the ex-girlfriend turned vampire lord. I guess she was always the lord of vampires. I think it really sticks the landing in terms of that really like awkward, heartbreaking, but passive aggressive confrontation between two ex-lovers culminating in a boss fight. I think El Paso Elsewhere is a fantastic game. It is going to be up there for me personally as one of my favorite games of this year. Not just for the story, but also the dialogue, the music, the overall style and vibes of that game. I think the sum of its parts are really fantastic, but the individual components of what make that game special are so special on their own. El Paso Elsewhere, I'm glad I played it, glad I got around to finishing it. One of my favorite games of this year. I got the need for speed. No, I'm not talking Need for Speed. I'm talking Forza Horizon 5. I just got this urge. I saw that they were continuing to put out free updates and additional content and all this jazz for Forza Horizon 5. I thought to myself, Forza Motorsport isn't that great. Like you kind of run out of steam with that game pretty quickly. And while I was, slowly making my way through the career mode in Forza Motorsport, I thought, you know what? Let's go back to Forza Motorsport. Let's see what they've done and all this stuff. And while I really can't tell you much else that they have done to Forza Horizon, I know that they've put out some additional paid DLC if you want to buy, additional Italian cars and race cars and all this stuff. The thing that really kind of blew me away of Forza Horizon 5 is that despite that game being older at this point, and being a game that originally came out on Xbox One, and not just Xbox Series X and S, Forza Horizon 5 looks so much better graphically than Forza Motorsport. Forza Horizon 5 looks amazing and runs at a much higher frame rate than Forza Motorsport. I was shocked. I was like, man, Forza Motorsport looks like shit compared to Forza Horizon. I think Forza Motorsport looks okay. Again, I think some of the weather effects, some of the lighting looks cool, but like just the cars and the ground textures and the jungle of Mexico and all of that stuff. Forza Horizon 5 looks amazing. I had so much fun playing it that I almost thought about uninstalling Forza Motorsport. But yeah, I went back to Forza Horizon 5 and man, what a hell of a game. But the game I have spent the most time playing is Persona 4 Golden. And I have a very weird relationship with Persona 4. Persona 4 is my favorite game that I have never finished. Let me say that again. Persona 4 is one of my favorite games that I have never finished. And the reason why I say that is because Persona 4 is one of those games that I watched somebody play through entirely to its entirety on YouTube. Shout out to Jeff Gersman. Shout out to Giant Bomb and the Endurance Run. I am a big fan of the Persona 4 Endurance Run. And basically I watched people play through all of Persona 4. And I had such a amazing time with it. I'm like, man, Persona 4 seems like a great game, but I just never got around to actually playing it for myself. So Persona 4 Golden is the kind of re-release of Persona, and it has additional content in it. It has new characters, new storylines that are kind of woven throughout the game. It's not like they just added like, separate stuff that you can just access, on its own or the main game. Or that it's all at the end or the beginning. Like they've really woven a lot of that stuff into it. So for me, this feels like, it is the stuff that they've added to Persona 4 Golden, compared to regular Persona 4 has kept things fresh for me. So it is a very exciting, playthrough, being like, oh man, in this one, they get motorcycle, in this version, they get motorcycles, and oh, Marie as a character is in this game, and I can talk to Marie and hang out with Marie, or all of this other stuff. Persona 4 Golden is supposed to be a very long game, and I imagine that it's a lot longer than Persona 4 because of all the new stuff they've added. But if you go to howlongtobeat.com, the main story of Persona 4 Golden, could take you anywhere from 68 to 100 plus hours. Maybe if we average that out, we're maybe looking at about, 80 or so hours. And this is not some like big open world thing. Like this is a relatively, it is open in the sense that like there are choices that you can make of which characters you want to interact with and who you want to hang out with and what you want to do on certain days. Persona 4, if you've never played Persona, Persona is a JRPG. It is a Japanese role-playing game. And the setup for Persona is that you are a high school student that has moved from the city to the town. And upon moving to the town, this new town, some grisly murders begin happening. And you have kind of taken it upon yourself with the new friends that you're making at high school. You have taken it upon yourself to try to solve this murder. But it's in the context of balancing out the rest of an average teenage high school experience. So you can, you can study, like there are exams that you study for. There are part-time jobs that you can take to earn money in the game. You can, go to the beach with your friends and hang out, and you can skip school to hang out with the bad kids. And there's a lot of choice and a lot of that stuff. But it's also a game where, you are fighting monsters and you are, crawling, you're kind of moving through dungeons and fighting and all of that stuff and casting spells. And there is a lot of that stuff, but it's, kind of contextualized into like, hey, today's Monday and you have exams today, or hey, today's Sunday and you don't have school. What do you want to do? Do you want to go fight monsters? Do you want to hang out with your friends? Do you want to go play soccer? What do you want to do? Right. And you can only, basically, it's, it goes through the days of the week, and different days you can do different stuff. And I'm having a great time with Persona 4. If you've never played a JRPG, Persona 4 Golden moves at a reasonable pace so that you could probably get into like kind of that turn-based, you know, kind of day-to-day slice of life style game if you'd like. But I'm maybe a third of the, I'm like 28 hours or so. I'm about 28-ish hours into Persona 4 Golden. I'm moving at a relatively quick pace. I suspect I'm about a third of the way into the game, give or take. So I don't think I'm going to be done by next week, but you know, maybe we can get it finished before the end of the year. But in terms of the end of the year, I mean, the finals is out now. Surprise drop during the Game Awards. I feel like I should be checking out the finals, so I will probably be doing just that, and I'll have more to say about the finals next week. Don't know if I'm going to get around to playing Avatar. I know Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is out now. Don't know if I'll get around to playing that or not. We shall see. I was all prepared to play Baldur's Gate if it came out on Game Pass, but it seems like that's not going to happen. So I guess more time for me to play Persona 4 Golden and the finals. That is going to do it for this week's podcast. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all of that good stuff. Happy gaming. I hope you have found your game of the year for this year. I know that I'm getting pretty close to, you know, kind of figuring out my list and all of that stuff. And we'll have more to say next week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.